Okay, we are live. What's up, ninjas? My special guest today is Ray Ortiz. Me and Ray has been buddies for a long time. He is a fellow fitness business owner in the same exact city as me, Markham. He's been
Across the
an
street,
addict
pretty much, man.
pretty much across the street. But he's probably been at it just as long as, if not a little bit longer than me, in the whole fitness game. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Yeah, man. No, I'm excited, brother.
All right, Ray. Let's get started. What got you started into fitness in the very beginning? Take us back.
Yeah, so way back. Okay, so I was in school for kinesiology, and then after my first year, I thought it would have been a good idea to get a job at a gym. So I was working at a big box gym. I figured, okay, this will be a good way to use my skill set that I'm learning at school. Did that for maybe like 4 or 5 years, but the whole time while I was working at the big box gym, my intention was to graduate kinesiology and get into chiropractic school. So that was actually my goal, was to open up my own practice. But yeah, it kind of fell through. So without going into too much details, my dad got sick. It was one of those situations, do I help out at home now, or do I wait till I graduate chiropractic school? So I decided, the school's not going anywhere. It's not like I'm flunking out of the school. I'll take a break, and I will help out the family. So what happened was, that's how I fell back into personal training, because a lot of the clients that I had while I was in school, I would train them just for like gas money, food money, stuff like that. But when they found out I dropped out of chiro school, they're like, oh, I have this friend and this friend and this friend. All of a sudden I had like 20 clients. I was like, all right, let's do this for a little bit. And then when the timing's right, go back to chiropractic school. But I've been doing this ever since, man.
That's crazy. So you treated it more as a hobby more than it
Yeah.
was a career.
Yeah, no, it's totally a hobby job. Just really enjoyed it. I just enjoyed working with clients and whatnot. Didn't think it would turn into a career, because big box gym style, man, it's hard to
Yeah.
make a career out of working at a big box gym. But essentially, at a big box gym, you're running your own business out of there. It's not like they really help you much to get your own clients. So it was a really easy transition, to be honest, when I decided to open up my own shop.
So let's talk about that for a second, because you didn't have to do a lot of upfront marketing. I think a lot of trainers struggle with this in the very beginning, because you had a small set of clients, but then once they figured you were doing this full time, they were just kind of referring you members, like other clients, like crazy. Like, what do you think that was the secret to doing that?
You know what though? At the time, so it was actually 2008. That was like the peak of the recession, if you
Oh yeah.
remember, right? So all you heard on the news was everyone losing their jobs, no one hiring, and then I'm the genius that goes and starts his own business during a recession, right? So, but around that time, I was just looking around. I was like, all right, like it's not like everyone lost their jobs. It's like people still have money. So I kind of just went the more, let's say, high end client route, right? So a lot of CEOs and a lot of executives, a lot of business owners as well. And it was a lot easier to get referrals from them, because they kind of had that circle of people that were still doing okay during the recession. So yeah, it was mostly word of mouth at that time.
Okay, cool. So you focused on like high-end clients, but then you pivoted a little bit to large group training.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know what it was? Like I hit a ceiling really, really fast with personal training. It was roughly about 15 to 20 clients, and it's energy consuming, man.
Oh,
Like
for sure.
the moment you train like even just 5 clients a day, like it can get pretty draining. And at the time, like I didn't really know much about business and outsourcing training and hiring trainers either. So I hit a ceiling really, really fast. But to be honest, like I was just tired of the commuting. So I would do in-home personal training.
Mm.
So I would travel on a good day, like at least an hour and a half to 2 hours of just driving around all over Toronto. And I was just sick of it, man. Like I just remember one time, things that we couldn't control, the snowstorms that we have in Toronto, and getting stuck on the 401. Oh man, like what should have been a 20-minute drive to my client's house ended up being 2 hours. And I told myself, you know what, like this wasn't even worth it, because you come out of a loss with the time, come out of a loss with the gas, and then I don't even get to train the client, so I lose the hours there too, right?
Yeah,
So I was like, you know what, like it's time for people to start coming to me. Yeah, so that was kind of the motivation there.
Okay, so you changed. They said instead of going to clients come to you. Now instead of training 1-to-1, you're training many to one.
Yeah.
How's that transition like?
It was hard because they are completely different clients and demographics. So I found like my high end clients, they didn't want to be in a group setting. Like they like the private training for the exclusivity, right? But then the group training was good because you can go more on volume. You can offer it at a more affordable price to people. But it was hard to get referrals from the high-end client side into the group training. Like it was completely different marketing, completely different conversations to have with these people. Their goals were different as well.
Right.
So that I found interesting.
So you created a whole new business. You had a one-to-one business, and then you had to create a whole brand new group fitness business.
Yeah. So the group fitness business, I kind of modeled the in-home training style. So instead of me coming to people's houses, I would go to people's offices because at that time I didn't have my own facility. I would do stuff at the park. I'd rent out dance studios, yoga studios. But then it just got to that point where I didn't have as much control as I wanted within the facility. So we just kind of built our way up out of these different facilities to the point where we had enough cash flow to open up our own location.
Okay. So renting studios, keeping the cost down, that was the biggest thing. When did you feel like, obviously you looked at some of the numbers and you're like, okay, it makes sense to open up our own studio and have it. But was there a time where it's like, I think I got it? Like, was there an aha moment about like things are actually flowing? And
yeah, no, for sure. Like, the aha moment was when I was renting out of a gymnastics studio. And with the handful of classes we had a week, we were probably generating more revenue than the gymnastics owner who owned the place full time. And she caught on to it too, because once she figured out what we were charging and the amount of people we were able to service in 1 hour, and it was a big spot. Like that place was just a floor space, maybe was like 2,000, 3,000 square feet. Like it was pretty big. So she saw us like, hey, listen, like, you're able to like train like 30 people at a time. Like, it's a pretty good business. I was like, you know what, it actually is. And the only thing that really held me back was that I couldn't open up more classes because she would fill it up with different gymnastics classes, right? So that was kind of the aha moment was when I was building a better business than the actual business owner of the facility.
Dude, me and you have such similar stories because it's like the exact, like it feels like, that's why I think me and you connect so well. It's like we did nearly the exact same thing, one-on-one personal training, and then group. I rented studios from gymnastics studios too, and it got to the point where the gymnastics, the studio owner was like, "Hey man, you're making a lot of money. I think I gotta charge you a little bit more in terms of rent." And then we were just like, "You only give me limited space," and then we had to branch out and do our own thing. So
yeah, that's exactly what happened. So yeah, we modeled it a couple times with the gymnastics. Like we were trying to do multiple locations at different I guess venues, and it worked like at every single venue. But like at the end of the day, like I guess the biggest disconnect was that when people would come try our class, they would see a gymnastics studio or they would see a martial arts studio. So there was always that obstacle I had to overcome when explaining things. I was like, you know what, like people should know what they're getting right the moment they step foot into the facility. So it was just a nice natural progression when we got into our opening up our own spaces.
So talk to me about like the point where you now opened. What year was this when you opened up your own standalone spot?
Oh my gosh. 2014, I think. 2013. Yeah, 2013 going into 14.
Okay.
Oh, you know what it was? 2013, because that's the year I got married. And I remember this now because I remember that year, like I signed up for a mastermind program. You know how expensive these masterminds can get. Then me and my wife are paying for our own wedding. I decided to buy a new car all in the same year and open up a second facility. I was like, what am I doing, man? But yeah, 2013 was the year, man.
Dude, these entrepreneur moments, I think I want to touch on that first for a second, because you started off with one location and then you were like, oh, maybe it's a good idea to get a second location and do all these things. Like it's almost as if like you wanted to give yourself a little bit more struggle.
Yeah, no, totally. Like without even realizing it, like it's not so much the struggle, but it's knowing that for us to achieve the things that we want, it comes with the struggle. Yeah. So that's usually why I don't mind the struggle so much, because I know what the end result is gonna be, right? But yeah, like for me to put that much stuff on my plate in one year was pushing it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of factors. It's just a momentum thing. I was just riding a wave of momentum. So regardless, like I'm always down to grind it out and work hard. You know what I mean? So I had the energy back then. So let's go for it, man. Let's get it all. Let's get it all.
Dude, biggest fail forward in the last, like, in the business career from when you opened, because you opened it up one standalone location, then you went to two. I think we were going, just being in the same, we were in the same boat, but like seeing the evolution of the fitness industry and how boutique fitnesses started to really pop up and everything, because we were OGs in the game. It's only been in the last like 5 years that like it's been really picking up. What do you think your biggest like fail forward was? Like, what do you think you could have done a little bit differently from the very beginning when you opened up your first standalone location till now?
Staff, like, staff is always and continues to be the most challenging part for me. I would always have trouble finding a balance between how much to coach these trainers and how much to kind of rule with an iron fist, so to speak, where I need them to do what I need them to do to grow the business. But fitness it's always hard because for the most part, most of these trainers, it's hard to give them full-time hours, so a lot of times they have to resort to doing other things. So how do I get them to make it worthwhile for them to stay with me? Meanwhile, I know that they're doing other things to kind of just, maintain their lifestyle. So we've all heard it, like the fire fast, hire slow mentality. But it's hard, man. Like at first, I would hire on credentials and find these amazing trainers, but they might not have the greatest personality, right? So that was, I would say, the biggest kind of obstacle I had was just trying to find good trainers on paper, but they didn't ever really end up being the best trainers for me. Like the best ones that I had were based on hiring their personality first and then teaching them all the technical stuff after. And for me, like that worked out better because I can kind of mold them into our culture and the style of training that they want. A lot of times when I have trainers that have all these certifications and all these degrees, they'd want to use me as a platform for them to push their style of training. But often it would take away from what my mission was and my goal was for my clients' goals, right? So that was by far the hardest part. And I still struggle with that to this day, to be honest.
Oh, I don't think it'll ever adjust because people are always so different.
Right.
I don't think it will ever get better, but you're absolutely right. Hire for attitude, not aptitude. I think is like the
that's perfect.
Thing.
Perfect analogy. Yeah.
So, I mean, staffing was also always an issue. So you actually decided to shut down your second location.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what made you come to that decision?
You know what, like, back then, going back to the ambition, like my whole thought process was more locations, more money. And definitely when we opened up the second location, definitely was making a lot more money. But what I didn't anticipate was all the different moving parts that came with making more money. And it was a lot. And again, I would say the systems work fine, but it was more managing now the team personalities that was very, very difficult. And just being so far away from each location, it was hard for me to often get back and forth in a timely manner to kind of put out fires. And that's what I felt like I was doing more often. I was just putting out fires. So I spend more time in one location to put out fires, but then as I was doing that, the other location kind of falling apart. So then I'd go back. It just kept going back and forth, man. And then the weirdest thing was I kept justifying the two locations with providing for my family and supporting my family, right? And the irony was that I never saw my family. And then at that point, I had my daughter was born, so she's super young, and I was missing out on a lot of stuff. And I just remember missing out on one of her kind of milestone life moments. And I was like, man, like, and I missed it because I had to cover a class at one of the locations.
Oh, yeah.
And then I asked myself, I was like, man, like, if I made $1 million like today, like, would that have been enough to have missed that moment? And the fact was $1 million would not have been able to buy me back that moment. So it wasn't worth it. And that was like, I was like, you know what, like, as much as my intentions were there and they're good for my family, it didn't make sense for me to separate myself from them. And we've seen that happen to so many people in business, clients of ours perhaps, where they sacrifice personal goals and personal time with their loved ones in the sake of making a few bucks. You know what I mean? And ultimately, for me, it wasn't worth it. Time is definitely more important to me than money for sure.
Yeah, it goes back to like how you want to live your life, I think is the
Yeah,
biggest thing. And if as entrepreneurs, like we're used to the grind, we're
for
used
sure.
to like putting in like 16-hour days. And I don't think people like, going back to staff don't realize that, they could shut it off. They can go home and stop thinking about the business.
Yep.
But you and me sit there
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
even
Yeah.
in the 10 o'clock at night, be like, oh, what about this idea? What about that idea?
Yeah. Hard
But
to
at
shut
the
it
end of
off,
the
man.
day, yeah, at the end of the day, it comes with life's orchestrating your life and seeing what the day should look like and building your business around that. I think that's the
Right.
thing. It sounds like a big thing that you've learned. Have you learned that in the last little bit?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. So, like I think everyone should have like little non-negotiables for themselves. So I told myself when I started my family, I wanted to have the flexibility to do all the school drop-offs and pickups. I wanted to take a day off if they had a school trip. I just wanted that flexibility. So I had to design the business to allow me to do those things. Because my wife, she works typical corporate 9 to 5, and she's all the way downtown too. So between the two of us, I have to be the one that's more flexible with my schedule.
Yeah.
But sometimes it does come at a cost where it might sacrifice a little bit on the business side. But where I've learned to kind of offset that is by hiring good people again to kind of help alleviate some of those tasks, because they don't have to do it all the time. It's just they know like every now and then I'll have something that comes up, and they're more than willing to kind of help me out.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Cool. I want to switch gears here and go into some client questions because
Sure,
being a health and fitness expert, I want to pull some expertise out of you.
let's do
So
it.
I got a great question here from a client. They go, my scale fluctuates back and forth some days, and it's frustrating. Does water consumption make a big difference?
Female client?
Sorry?
Is it a female client?
Let me double check here. I'll tell you if it's a male.
I'm gonna
Yes.
I'm gonna guess yes. Then the answer would be yes. Oh man, how long have I been doing this, man? Like 20 years, 20 years, and I've been training 99% women for the last 20. I still have not figured women out, man, in terms of their bodies. Like there's just so many factors, especially like water retention for sure, time of the month, menopause, pregnancies, like that it gets the list never ends. Like
Yeah.
guys, my male clients, I can predict them almost on a bi-weekly basis, their progress. But women, yeah, water retention definitely is a big one in terms of what weight you see on the scale. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So my thought on this one, I had this conversation with my wife, and I was just like, water, yes, she would get really upset about the stats and them adjusting. And I'm like, it's just your body's just a little bit different. And she looks at me and she's like, I'm losing weight like crazy because I added calories, and I'm just
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's just so definitely I think water consumption definitely, but I think looking at salt and carb consumption really will make some fluctuations too as well. So
yeah, for sure.
if the night before you're eating a lot of carbs, there's things that hold and retain a lot more water, a lot more
Yeah,
sodium, that could throw the number off on the scale as well. So
yeah, totally. No, I even like lately I've had clients that are having issues, or female clients specifically, with their thyroid. A lot of women might have thyroid issues and they don't even know about it.
yeah, for sure.
Birth control pills from some of my younger female clients, like that affects their water retention as well. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard if you're basing your results solely on what you see on the scale, 100%. And
I want to go deeper into this question. Now, I want to talk about increasing calories because
yep,
I've been with, a lot of female clients think less food, less food. I got clients like eating 700 to 800 calories a day. And they're
yikes.
like, I'm not losing any more weight. And I'm just
Yeah,
like, I was like, and to actually tell them, hey, have you tried upping your calories just a tad, like a few, like maybe 10%, 20%, and seeing how that affects your body? They're like, no, no, no,
yeah.
no, I don't want to add any more food. Like, have you ever had that ever happen?
Yeah, no, it's a tough mindset to break. And what I tell them is like, listen, like if you get those extra calories in, you'll be able to push your workouts even harder, you'll get stronger, you'll build and repair your muscle, and that'll increase your metabolism. You'll actually burn more calories in total if you try doing that. But I see that all the time. Like I'm shocked after doing this for so long that there's still kind of that mindset where you have to starve yourself a little bit in terms of calories to burn fat. Now, I get what they're trying to do. Like, they're trying to burn off more than what they're putting in for sure, but they're not looking at the big picture in terms of performance on their workouts and increasing their metabolism with food. You know what I mean? So it's scary. Like, I feel like it goes through waves. Like, people go through waves where they understand that, then they go back to kind of old school style of thinking,
Yeah. It's hard to break bad habits. I
For
think
sure.
that's the thing, the biggest thing. It's and also the skill sets that the things that you did before isn't going to be the same thing, because when you're younger, metabolism's a lot higher. So you cut the calories, you're going to see the weight drop off. But as we get older, that metabolism slows down. So they don't realize, like, hey, that's a slower metabolism. If I cut the calories even more and I don't put on more muscle, I don't really offset it. So.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, because I always talk to people about that all the time, and I was like, even if a year goes by, I was like, your body has changed in a year. You can't compare to what your body was doing last year or 2 years ago. You're at a different place, and they don't incorporate a lot of different lifestyle factors too. Maybe they're more stressed. They might be getting less sleep. That might be contributing things. They just kind of think in terms of the basic math, like calories in, calories out, and working out X amount of times per week, but they're not throwing in the whole lifestyle picture,
For sure. So on the topic, because you and me both do challenges, and I think they're a great opportunity for clients to come in and really just start and challenge themselves if they say if you could actually do this. But the question I get a lot is, how do you stay motivated after you complete a challenge?
Are you asking what I tell my clients?
What would you say to a client, like, after a challenge? Like, a lot of clients have that difficulty staying motivated because now there's nothing on the line. There's, they maybe hit close to their goal already, but how do you keep pushing forward?
Yeah. So for our clients, like, it's more of an evolution mindset, right? So once they get close or they reach their goal, then we have to think of the next one. But I know that they often approach it the same way they did the original challenge. So that's where I try to get them to increase their communication to myself and my trainers. They should get more involved in community and accountability aspects, like the Facebook groups that we have, or even just working out with a buddy. It's hard. Like, it's hard to motivate yourself to do what you need to do every single day. But if you know that someone is relying on you and vice versa, it's a lot easier for you to kind of move forward. Otherwise, like, it'll be too easy for us to just kind of, I'll wait again until tomorrow. We see that all the time. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah. You know what? It reminds me of, like, I see clients after they complete challenges, they've gotten some decent results, and then they go, you know what, I'm going to try this on my own. I think I got this. And time and time again, I see them 6 or 8 months later, they gain back all the weight because like, the missing link was what you just said, which is accountability, because they wouldn't have done it otherwise.
That's right. But and that's in any capacity of learning, I think. You know what I mean? Like, we can teach ourselves to do anything, but it's always good to get a different point of view. That's why, you see teachers in every level, whether that's traditional education and business, fitness, like, everyone that performs and does well more often than not has some sort of coach or mentor.
Yeah. There's got to be that feedback loop. But I also want to touch on, like, what to do after a challenge. Like, I think one is setting new goals, but I also like not always setting weight goals, but also performance goals. Because I think that's the one thing that's missing from a lot of people is, like, hey, how do you set performance goals? Is it a weightlifting goal? Is it like a body, how many chin-ups, how many pull-ups can you do? And I like to set those as, like, the next benchmark, because then it doesn't become so weight focused all the time.
Of course. Yeah. Even for us, like, we don't really, we do measure everyone's weight, but we never make that a point of emphasis. Not as much as we used to in the past. We just do it because we need something tangible to measure. But then we definitely go more the performance route. So we make it mandatory for all of our clients, men and women, to be able to do 5 chin-ups, at least 5. We have a benchmark for at least 20 chest to floor push-ups in 30 seconds. But we have to explain to them why those are benchmarks, and a lot of it is just, without going too crazy of the science, it's just we want them to get more lean muscle, because if they get stronger, they're going to burn more calories, and that ultimately leads them to their fat loss goals and their aesthetic goals.
Absolutely, dude. Now, I used to ask this question to everybody. It's my last question. It's I believe life is like a kung fu action movie where you get beat up, you learn from some secret master, and then you come back and you defeat your enemy. Now, I know not everybody's a kung fu action movie fan, but favorite movie story arc, like a hero arc movie, what would it be and why?
Oh man, hero arc or just favorite movie with a hero arc?
Sure.
Because mine is non-conventional, but it's my favorite movie. I guess there are elements of a hero arc, but it's weird. So my favorite movie is Godfather,
Okay.
the first one. But it's a weird hero arc because if you follow it, you know, it's a gangster movie. But when I won't go into the whole details, I want people to watch this movie if they haven't seen it. But oh my God, what's the lead actor's name? Al Pacino. Al Pacino. So when Al Pacino kind of goes into the family business, the mafia business, I guess ironically, he does become the hero for his family. Like he takes his family to a next level where they're seeing all this success, I guess, in terms of what they're trying to provide for the family. But yeah, he took it to the next level, man. Like the reason why I like it so much is because he went through some crazy struggles. You know, he was in the military to start. His family, you know, a lot of the members died, right? His father was dying and there was an assassination attempt on him, and he had to kind of overcome all that stuff to kind of take over, so to speak. But yeah, I guess not the typical answer. Like, were you expecting a superhero movie?
No, it's all good, man. Hey, listen, Scarface was one of my favorite movies of all time, man. That was like, I was like that rise and the rise and fall. I love that stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I think I really connect with The Godfather because amidst all the gangster stuff, it's all about family and you know, we talked about it earlier. Our motivations, we justify a lot of these things for our family, and you know, on that movie, like a lot of it is negative stuff, and a lot of times maybe immoral stuff, but you know, it's still with the best intentions, which is kind of crazy.
You do anything for your family, right?
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, sweet. If anybody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to get in touch with you or learn more
my
about
Instagram is where Instagram is where I'm hanging out most of the time. Is pretty basic, just at Ray Ortiz. DM me. I handle all of my messages myself. I don't have anyone doing it. Feel free to comment on anything. If you have a question with any of the stuff that I'm posting, I'll gladly help you out on that side too. But yeah, Ray Ortiz at Instagram is the best place, let's say.
Awesome, Ray, man. Thanks for being on the show and sharing your secrets to health, wealth, and being kick-ass. You're a ninja, my friend.
Thanks, brother.